Sound effects included in today's audio. For free. Thank you.
Can I come?
I mean, I guess I could bring you with. Step on a board.
All right, good morning everybody. We are on the South Shore Lake Superior this morning. We had some rain last night and the wind is blowing offshore, so we're gonna go out and see if we can troll for some of these salmon that are staging outside the river mouths. It's about that time of the year when they're gonna be running up the streams. We're gonna get out in maybe 100 feet or less of water, put out some downriggers, put out some dipsies. But the main goal of this video is I want to show you how I set up my boat for Great Lakes trolling. We did some trolling out on Lake Michigan earlier, had some questions about the setup. So we're gonna show you a little more detail how I troll out on the Great Lakes. Today we're on Lake Superior. Come along with us, I think we're gonna have a good time today. Just head straight out until we get to a certain depth.
Like 12 feet?
More than 12.
Oh.
I'd say 50, 60 feet.
Okay. You're at 47.
Alright, we're gonna start right around 50 feet. It's about 65 degrees, 64 and a half. So we're out in the lake. We're gonna start right around 50 feet, maybe fish out a little deeper. But just to tell you about the boat, the boat's a 16-foot boat, a Lund Fury XL, the 1625. Got a 50 horse Honda and a Kicker Evinrude 15 horse. The Kicker is just for backup if there's ever motor trouble with the Honda, but Honda runs like a top, so I love that motor. Tiller drive gives us the full floor space to work out here. You can do it with the steering wheel. I like the tiller just because it gives you more space amongst the boat. The rod holders and the downriggers are going to be mounted on the rail system that comes with the Lunds. I'm not sure if other boat manufacturers do the same type of thing, but mine has the rail system. So I have the Scotty rod holders, and I just mounted these Scotty plastic bases to an aluminum plate with 2 holes in, and then I use those 2 holes on the rail system to mount the rod holders. And then I'm using 5/16 carriage bolts to bolt it to. You can see those carriage bolts go right inside the rail system of the Lund, but there's one little hack that you got to do to get those in there. They don't actually have a place for you to slide those carriage bolts in there. They want you to use their specially designed system. But if you go back here in the back, you get a close-up of that, Nikki. Right there in the back, I have cut out a groove where I can drop those carriage bolts in. So I took a Dremel tool and I carved out a space where I can put the 5/16 carriage bolt in there, and then you can slide them up and down. You do gotta cut a little bit of your boat out, but it's well worth it. Then you can add as many of these as you want. I use wing nuts on them, then you can loosen them up quickly and do adjustments to your position of your downrigger or your rods. All right, let's get one of the downriggers out and I'll show you how I mount that on there. I guess I can show you the mount right now. So this is a custom made plate. It's just a 90 degree with holes. These 2 holes line up with the side rails like this, and then I'll use those 2 bolts back there. Goes through here and mount that on there. And then on the base of the downrigger I just have a swivel mount that allows it to swivel in different positions. Every 45 degrees you can set it into position. This is just a basic manual Cannon downrigger. with walker releases. I have stacker releases. I usually don't stack them. I usually just use one release per downrigger. Got that mounted on now with the wing nuts, and I'm able to move this in whatever position I want. I want to bring it this way towards the front of the boat a little more, so it's easier for me to work on it while someone's driving the back of the boat. And then I can move my rod holder position as well. First Lake Michigan salmon out of this little boat. We're out here, just got started, haven't got all the lines set, and cracked one that was down 50 feet on a fly. So I believe we have 10-pound downrigger balls. I would go with kind of the heaviest you feel comfortable with, but for these smaller downriggers, a 10-pound is going to be good enough. If you have a bigger boat with heavier duty downriggers, you might even go up to like a 15-pound downrigger ball. For my boat, these work well. Heavier downrigger weights will reduce the angle of the cable while trolling, giving you better depth and line control. Just using Okuma Classic Pro downrigger rod, simple pen reel, level wind reel. What should we go with? You got any favorites?
I do. Crocodile?
I like that one.
Why would you ask me and then put the one on there that you like?
You want the crocodile spoon? This one? So it's pretty common to troll with lighter spoons like this. This is your classic trolling spoon, a real thin sheet metal. You can't really cast these very well. They are made for trolling. But I like to use casting spoons. This is a crocodile spoon. It's a heavier gauge spoon, and what this does is it gets the spoon down just a little bit deeper below the level of the downrigger ball. So when you let the line out the back, that spoon is actually riding below the level of the downrigger ball, whereas if you're using a lighter spoon, it's going to be more directly behind the ball. We are spooled up with 20-pound mono on all our reels. For fly and flasher leaders, we use 30-pound fluorocarbon. And you don't need to let too much line out, maybe 10, 20 feet. It's up to you. If it's going to be a clear, bright, sunny day, you might decide to go a little further back, maybe 10 yards, but 30 feet or so is probably more than enough. Yeah. These walker releases, you really just take the line and then you pull it up into the release. You can set the tension of the release with this knob. You just turn it clockwise to tighten it. But you put the line in there, pop it up in there. And I will say these work a lot better with monofilament than braid. If you're going to use braid, I would go with like a Chamberlain release. Once I get the line in the walker release, I'm going to put the clicker on. And I don't want a lot of extra line out. And then I'm going to release it so it'll free spool out. Put it in the holder, and then I'm going to drop the ball to the desired depth, which we're over 70 feet right now. I'm going to go down 50 feet with this one. This downrigger has the depth gauge on it right here. Once you get to depth, you want to crank this down, take all the slack out of it. So when that fish releases, there's very little slack, and having that rod bent over will help take out some of that slack if they do release it. So it's just a process of kind of feeling it out here, and if you want to permanently mount your holders in one position, you can do that, but you may have to do some adjusting after. But kind of just maybe think everything through before you do a permanent mount. But with the rail system, it's nice, you can kind of adjust on the fly. So that should be good. Downrigger's out. the rod bent over it. If fish releases, it should go out the back of the boat. We're also going to run a Dipsey out, so the downriggers go straight down, the Dipseys will go out. And that'll give us a nice spread. We'll do a downrigger on each side and a Dipsey on each side. A variation of this rod arrangement would be to angle the downrigger rods straight back and then a Dipsey out both sides. This is the arrangement we used in Port Washington. So I rig up the Dipsey with a planer board clip on each end. That way you don't have to pull the Dipsey all the way in with you. You can unclip it and then fight the fish. It's nice also because you're allowed to let as much line out as you want behind the Dipsey. Typically you would have to have a shorter length of line behind the Dipsey so you can get the fish up and in the boat. But with this method you can let as much line out as you want, just like you would on a planer board. You reel the fish in. When this gets up to the boat, you unclip it and then you fight the fish. So just like the downrigger, I'm going to put a spoon on. This is a Pro King. This is an actual trolling spoon. And same as the downrigger, I'll just let out as much line as I want behind the Dipsey. If your reel has a line counter, you can kind of decide how much you want out. It's nice to have a line counter on your Dipsey rods. That way when you clip the Dipsey on, start letting line out, you kind of know where to go back to the next time you put it out. Say you catch a fish at a certain amount of line out, you want to get back to that same spot, you can do that with a line counter. Otherwise you're just kind of guessing. If you don't have a line counter, the next best way is just to count how many times the level line goes back and forth across the reel. So you can set this weight on the Dipsey divers. If you put it at a 0, it's going to dive straight down. And if you turn it to one way or another, it'll go off to the side of the boat. But you want to turn the weight towards you on the side you're putting it out. So I'm going to put it out on this side of the boat. So when it's riding here, I want that weight closest to me. That'll tilt it this way and make it dive outward. And I'm going to put it right at a 3. Make sure I get it out and away from my downrigger. So that'll tilt it like this, and it'll ride like this outward. It'll kind of plane out and go downward. Should explain the release mechanism that clips in, and when a fish hits, it should release. If they're not releasing, then you got to set the tension right here. You can screw that screw in a little tighter. If it's not tight enough, it'll keep false tripping on you. So it's kind of a guess and check kind of thing. So to clip these on, I'll wrap the line around my fingers twice, leave a little gap. Put that clip on there and then pull it tight. The same thing with the back one. You want to give yourself enough room between the front and the back clip so that if it releases, there's enough line in between them. There you go. That's how you get it set up. Got a little bit of line in between. Everything's ready to go out. So same deal here. I'm going to 0 out my line counter. I'm going to put out 100 feet of line. That'll put it probably, I don't know, 30 feet down, 40. I want my clicker on. Alright, so that's how we get the 2 lines out on one side. Downrigger, Dipsey, we're down and we're out. We'll do the same thing on the other side, so we'll have a total of 4 lines. We can fish 3 apiece, but we're just going to stick with the 4 lines for now. Planer board line could be added to each side for a total of 6 lines. Planer board rod holders would be positioned forward of the Dipsey line sets. If you own a smaller boat and want to try Great Lakes trolling, I highly recommend giving it a try. We didn't catch any fish on this outing, but if you want to see some fall salmon action on Lake Superior, check out this video from a few years back when Dad and I found success while near shore trolling. I'll link that video in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you out on the water.